Augusto Suarez bringing you the review for Business 120 Social Media Marketing. I want to go ahead and tie a lot of these ideas together in a way that's going to make it relevant for you and also help you to pass this final exam. So let's go ahead and get started. So social media marketing and networking encompasses the idea that media now is consumed and shared and produced by the society at large. Not just a couple of individuals or a group of people, but Fortune 500 companies also use social media for the purposes of researching, acquiring information, but also marketing their products. And the effective use of social media to do that encompasses two ideas. First, the understanding of what exactly social media is. And I mean, in this class, we define it as content generated and shared and consumed by the society or group of people within a group. And these Fortune 500 companies now develop tools and strategies to really accumulate information that could help them to generate the right type of marketing, as well as using these different applications to promote themselves or promote their products. Now, a lot of these apps weren't designed with these Fortune 500 companies in mind. So what has had to happen, or what has happened in the past, is they reviewed the information and developed strategies according to the way that the society uses these applications. Now, this could include applications like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. And a marker to a lot of these social media applications, or a distinguishing feature of these social media applications, is that users tend to use it in a way that it wasn't designed to be used. For example, these Fortune 500 companies would be marketing on pages like Instagram, or getting people or bloggers on YouTube, or vloggers, on YouTube, who get affiliated sponsorship or get sponsorship from these corporate entities. When the people who developed these applications first made it, they weren't thinking, oh, this is an opportunity for people to make money. But because, again, social media is created, or the media on these applications are made by the community, unfortunately, that's kind of like the way it goes, So as far as control, the designers don't have much control or say in how content gets produced and how marketing gets promoted. But with that being said, if you're trying to use it to promote your company, or you're trying to design content to really attract more clients to your product, there are ways to go about that, and we're going to review some of the most effective ways that have been determined so far. Now, with regards to product portrayal, right, this has nothing to do necessarily with the content that's already on social media. This is more to do with what consumers buy into already, right? There's a couple different utilities that they look into. They look for a functional utility, which is how does the product work, an emotional utility, how does the product make me feel, and a social utility, how do other people view me when I'm using this product. But they all tie into a universal truth that, based on the values that clients or customers have, that's going to drive their actions. And if they value functionality, they value how things make them feel, their experiences, or they value the same values as society, when those things tie together, they create what we would consider buy button. And when marketing taps into all these features, they're able to create a pathway for the client to be able to purchase these items. Now, with any type of approach, there are people who tend to excel, and there are companies that tend to not reach their optimal position as far as converting these customers, right? So we want to look at what the market leaders do. So market leaders tend to offer the best value in one of the following domains, right? They could offer it with price, which means that they offer the best price for the product, or they offer the most value for the price point that they're looking to sell at. They make it convenient either to acquire the product or to utilize the product. So they have an ease of use or an ease of purchase. They are the most innovative as far as the technology and the updates associated with the product. Or they're a leader in self-importance. They allow the clients to manifest a superiority or a feeling of security and self-esteem that you only get with high-end purchases versus the low-end side. And market leaders tend to do very well in occupying this domain or being the best in that domain. And the reason that that's important is because if you're trying to differentiate yourself or set yourself apart from the competition, you could do it in one of these four ways. So with reference to the four domains and the utilities, that's really in reference to the product design. But you could market towards products that are designed or oriented towards one of those aspects. As far as market leaders and branding, turns out that the high performers or the overperformers, as highlighted in Ultimate Marketing Machine article, these are people who are data oriented and leverage the data that they accumulate. Now, as I said previously, Fortune 500 companies can use social media to acquire data on the consumers which they want to target. The best companies utilize the best approaches in scraping this data. They also invest heavily in the best strategies to analyze this data and make it as available to their team and different employees who are responsible for really developing the marketing campaigns. And it is the companies that are able to implement these strategies the fastest that outperform the other companies who are still trying to figure out what data to even acquire. But then you think about purpose-based positioning versus product-based positioning, and you find that overperformers are more purpose-oriented. So it's not just getting data and finding out all this information about clients and then you make this hamburger style report, like a thick report, like 140 pages with a bunch of different metrics and different numbers. It's really you're developing why it is you want to create this product, for what purpose, to what client, and really orienting your strategy towards that purpose or that vision or that mission. And turns out the market leaders are very purpose oriented. And this isn't something that's confusing or rocket science, or it's not intuitive. I mean, if you think about it, in the beginning, the first thing that really determines whether a client wants a product is the fact that it has to resonate with their values, with the utility that they find from using this product. And when you're purpose-based, you're really value-based. You're really principle-based. You're really oriented on the things and beliefs that really drive the actions of society at large. Now, according to the book Discipline of Market Leaders, there are 3 strategies that prevail when it comes to competition within the markets. You have a best cost strategy, which is oriented towards the best cost for the clients. You have best product strategy, which means that you have the best or the most useful product to clients. They answer the utility portion of the client's desires, right? They find the product most useful versus other products that they could use or other substitutes. Or it's really that they have the best solution, which means that as far as finding a way to resolve something or a pain or a struggle that the client might have, they find that this product solves it the quickest, easiest, or in the best manner. So this book says that the 4 rules that market leaders follow is they either try to excel in one of the 3 dimensions of value, they maintain a threshold of standards, which means that they don't try to go below the level of mediocrity. They try to strive for premium or better. These companies tend to dominate through innovation. And finally, they build a well-operated machine that gives the best solutions to a problem. And if these things sound like they're repeating or they're just another way of saying what's previously been stated, then you're starting to get the point, right? Because here you see best cost, right? It's a convenience utility. Best product, it's another type of utility that's oriented towards the actual item. Best solution also ties into utility. They all these theories and all these ideas tend to tie together in a certain way and in a package as far as what a consumer might be looking for. But the underlying value, right, is really that these companies are giving something that the customer wants in a way that shows that the company or the firm or the service is trying to appease the client in the best way possible, that in a way that shows that they're deserving of that money. And it might, and yes, as far as why, it's because they want to make profit, they want to make money. But as far as what drives the company, the ones that lead the market, the ones that do the best, find a purpose first. They are oriented towards a goal, a vision for a better world, a better society. And developing the best or orienting the firm to provide the best, that takes value. That takes a belief system that's oriented towards striving for more, not settling for less. And these 4 rules, they're non-compromisable. So if you take into account the previous aspects as well as these things, the strategy to develop a marketing campaign that highlights what they do right or accentuates these aspects are really what's going to set that marketing campaign apart and help you to differentiate the product that's being marketed. So, like I said before, based on these previous things, there's 3 operating models that you could use. You could use a model of operational excellence, where you show that the way the product is developed is of the highest standard possible. You could market it as a product leader. You could present this product in comparison to other products and show that they are the highest quality. This was something that was very common when Apple was competing with PC. They would advertise themselves as product leaders. Or you could approach developing a customer intimacy. And this is where social media comes in, right? Because with social media, there is a personal touch to a lot of the content that's being developed now. So much so that it's curtailed and developed specifically for groups, individuals who identify in a certain way or with a certain ideology, and individuals who are looking for some variety. And we're going to go ahead and look to see what the most successful bloggers or the most successful people on social media develop their content, to see if a firm could develop content in that same way and attract people not just to that content but to that product. Now you're probably asking yourself, why does all these aspects matter if we're talking about social media? Well, as I said before, these Fortune 500 companies, these firms, these small businesses, they use social media to acquire information, acquire data, but also to market to groups and different society pockets to get their to capture more clients, right? So as far as you're concerned with your study, after you graduate, you're probably looking to get employed. You're probably looking to put these theories and ideas into practice, and you might also want to be able to market yourself on social media to potential clients or employers, right? So with regards to why this should matter to you, these are strategies that when implemented allow you to attract more people to what it is you're trying to promote, what you're trying to sell. They could also allow you to better represent yourself with a digital identity or represent your clients. And lastly, with the piece that's marketing yourself, social media is a powerful tool to curtail the image that you put out. If you start to develop a service or a product or an idea that's oriented around your values, you want to be able to have the tool set to really extenuate your strengths and reduce your weaknesses, to connect with people who share those values, so that way if you need to hire them or work on a project together, you could do that. And finally, you want to be able to really analyze the information that's coming at you, the content's coming at you. What's the purpose? What's the focus? What's the scope? How are they trying to get me? Whether it's get me to buy, get me as in who I am, or even just to connect with me on an intimate level, so that way we could develop a customer business relationship. All these things are factors that really tie into the importance of learning this material. Ideas are based on articles and books that I've read. One in particular is What Creativity Looks Like, which was a Harvard Business Review article. And the one phrase that was very interesting was customer centric, because it refers to a holistic approach instead of honing in on a customer segment, which is, what marketing used to do. They used to say, okay, you have the segment of Black Americans who live in an urban city. How can we market to that group? They're saying, what might be better, instead of segmenting an area based on race, ethnicity, gender, age, it might be more effective to do an end-to-end type of marketing, where each piece of the product line, all the way out to the point where the customer gets the product, is a form of marketing, or there could be a component that's marketed, right? And this ties more to the values that drive what people do. If you're looking to develop a product leader marketing campaign, then you'd be highlighting the fact that the product is top of the line. Why is it top of the line? Is it through the production? Is it through the resources, the quality of the resources you use to develop that product? It might even be just the packaging makes it the top of the line. Who knows? But when you have an end-to-end approach, when you're taking into account each facet of the product and customer service, you have more content, you have more facts and more details to fill in the blanks for what the customer is looking for with their product, and it's more effective. Is how budgeting is killing your strategy, right? So, as a group, you guys developed a marketing campaign, and then I asked you individually to develop a strategy to implement that campaign. But what tends to happen is strategy is more oriented towards vision and mission, and less towards the metrics and the guidelines that perhaps a budget would be focused on, right? So, to take the same approach that you develop your budget with your strategy isn't necessarily recommended, especially with the timelines and the time horizons being substantially different. A strategy might have a 10-year time horizon, whereas a budget might only have a 1 year or 3-quarter, 2-quarter, or what have you. So that being said, you take into account what the strategy should do. You want to ask 3 questions, right? So, because of the different time horizons, you want to approach your strategy differently. And I can attest that if a strategy doesn't seem clear to the team, they don't do what they're supposed to. And there's a saying that it's not that people don't know how to delegate, it's that they don't delegate in a way that they can't do it wrong, which ties into the idea that if you say things clearly enough and cohesively enough, and you remain succinct, there's no way that your team could make a mistake. Whereas there's a belief that if you delegate to the wrong person, things will not get done properly. And it's not about who you delegate to, it's about how you delegate, right? And having a strategy that's clear and straightforward, I mean, it makes all the difference, because everybody's on the same page. People know what's going on, and there's no question about whether or not what I should be doing or what the other person should be doing is oriented or aligned with the strategy. So here's some good questions for developing a strategy, right? The first question is, what's been done so far? And this is oriented with, your past, what's been developed, what's been established as far as the company is concerned. The second question is, what do we want to be? Where is it that we want to go? What's the vision for the company? And the last piece is, what is the path for getting there? Because it's very easy to kind of have this vision of the future, but there's no teleporting machine, there's no time machine that's going to help you to jump from where you are towards that goal. You have to develop a path first, and then once you develop that path, you could start the process to streamline it or make it quick and effective, so that way you could actually finish. So Harvard Business Review article talks about the crowd culture, which is a term coined by Douglas Holt about how ideologies are what really attract groups now. And the ideology ties to the theme that's been running through this course about value advertising, value add, beliefs, ideas. These are what really guides the content and the social media groups, the societal groups that are drawn to these applications. So branding yourself to some of these ideologies is probably what's the best approach to grab the most amount of people. And this ties into that end-to-end marketing, because originally, like I said before, you're developing it based on segments, and the fragmented approach might not really appeal to the individual as much as an idea, a sticky idea that has its roots in the values and beliefs of the company. So when it comes to developing a higher conversion rate, what's really going to work better is being tied to the values of that client, and not trying to tie yourself to the outer appearance of that client. The advantages of using social media is really highlighted in Chapter 8. Some of the benefits include having access to a client no matter where they are. The fact that clients are always carrying their cell phone, that it's always on, that it has a built-in payment system. With regards to social media, there's a couple ways that people develop content or communicate with each other, right? Like a forum, for example, is a place where a group of people can communicate back and forth with each other. You have bloggers who put up content about their personal life. There's a distinction that I want to make as far as what a power blogger is, because their goal is really to increase their exposure, as well as develop content that's both engaging and powerful, that motivates the clients to do something, or excuse me, motivates the readers to do something. And you can find power bloggers on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Reddit. These power bloggers utilize the 5 W's, right? Who, what, when, where, and why. And this doesn't mean that the story speaks about who, what, when, where, and why. This could be who, as in the target audience. Who is your target audience? Who does this impact the most? Who would benefit from reading this content? What should you be talking about? What is it that you're trying to sell? What is it that these people are looking for? When is the best time for you to be promoting this? Where does this article or this vlog or this video, where is it oriented? Where does it happen? All these things are good questions for a blogger or a vlogger or somebody who develops content to think about. Rich media is another method that marketers use, and that's just content that the consumer can interact with, right? Emojis, everybody knows what an emoji is, but emojis are important because they allow you to display emotion or portray emotion through text. And the final piece, which is a very, very important question to consider when you develop content, is what's in it for me. And that's how, and you should be thinking about when the customer asks that, what is the answer they are getting when they view your content. And then we want to talk about the 4 steps to developing a marketing strategy. So the first step is doing your research, do some background planning. The second step is define your objectives. Third step is identify your target audience. And fourth step is to devise a strategy. Research really encompasses doing a SWOT analysis or a TOES analysis, which we'll talk a little bit later about that. And defining your objectives, that should really be based on your values again, because as we said before, the top performers are more value oriented, and values just, it makes more sense to market towards the values of your clients. With regards to strategy and budgeting, what you want to do is you want to orient it towards a story. You consider the 3 questions that were previously stated as the best approach to really streamlining your strategy. You want to talk about 4 P's, which is price, product, promotion, and place. Place is in reference to distribution. Price is just in reference to price point. Product is what you're selling, and promotion is what you could do to expose it to your clients, right? And then KPIs, as far as KPIs are concerned, these are key performance indicators. These are the metrics used to determine whether your marketing campaign is going to be successful or not. And with KPIs, it's tied more to the budget and the finance, because again, the financial side is a different time horizon, right? Like they'll give you sponsorship, they'll give you money, but they want to ensure that that money is being used properly, and the way that a company ensures that is through KPIs. A vision, not so much. That might change. A strategy might change based on a couple of factors, but you could still develop a budget that's oriented towards realistic data that could be acquired right away, and a strategy could be developed towards the values and beliefs that really not only guide your employees but guide customers to your product. And that's why it's done that way. If you do a deep dive into the marketing campaign, what you really want to look at when you're doing an analysis is to see the organizational capabilities. What can your company do? Do an internal analysis, which is strengths and weaknesses of the company. And then the external analysis is opportunities, threats. And that's tied into your SWOT, your TOES, uh, and SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. TOES is threats, opportunities, weaknesses, and strengths. And you're probably saying, well, if it's the same letter, why do it one way versus the other? Well, based on what you start with, that's going to be your foundation. So sometimes it's good having an external foundation when you look at your strengths and weaknesses, because if you're not, if you're in a highly competitive market, and the market plays a larger variable in your sales, it's better to orient yourself in that way versus looking at your strengths and weaknesses and then find out that they don't even play a factor in trying to acquire a higher market share. Some other tools that are oriented with your success is neuromarketing and looking at the timing around um, the, the timing around how you promote your product or services, because if you promote it at the wrong time, like for example, if your product's seasonal and you sell it during the wrong season, chances are you're not going to be able to get the sales. That's it for the review. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to send me an email. It's been a pleasure teaching you guys, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to do so. Again, this is Professor Suarez signing off. Take care.